Geek Myths, a novel about life, love, and the pursuit of sonic screwdrivers. Available in paperback and Kindle edition from Amazon.
Scanning for audio.
Welcome to a Tin Dog podcast. This time talking about the Tsuranga Conundrum. Why there's a silent T in it is beyond me, but you know what? That's fine. First off, I just want to say that the Doctor says the word pod so many times that it will be a crime if nobody out there who does a podcast doesn't lift her saying the word pod, find her saying the word cast, put them together, and have some sort of lovely sample. As someone who's pushed for time and doesn't really want to do that, that's fine. Not going to be the one who does that. Right, so, you know I'm talking about this week's Doctor Who story. That's why you're listening. That's why you've downloaded this or you've accessed it on YouTube. I've noticed that my followers are growing, which is very nice. I hope you're enjoying the podcasts. And I'm going to talk about it starting now. No, now. Oh, it doesn't really matter. So, I've noticed that some people out there aren't enjoying this story. They aren't. And you know what? It's alright not to enjoy this story. However, it's also alright to have enjoyed it. It doesn't make you the work of Satan or some sort of weird person. It just means that this was more for you. I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of people out there who've been banging on about how, well, Doctor Who's been using the Cybermen a lot, or the Daleks a lot. Give them a year off, they shout. Yay! Well, this is what it looks like. This is what Doctor Who, without your regular recurring monsters, looks like. Happy now? My dad's not. He didn't even bother texting me after this particular story. And also, for some people out there, the creature in this week's story was Stitch from Lilo and Stitch, or Nibbler from Futurama. For me, however, it was the gremlin. A proper gremlin. You know, a thing on the wing gremlin. The sort of thing that, you know, messes with your power supplies, destroys things, breaks things, and then moves on. You know, think Twilight Zone. That kind of gremlin. So that's what it was for me. That's what I was expecting someone to say in passing. This episode, this story, may not be your favourite so far, but that merely says that the rest of them have been tremendously high quality, which they have been. So anyone who comes out with some incredible negative comments, well, fine. Not all Doctor Who is for you. If you wait long enough, there'll be more Doctor Who along in a minute. If you're not enjoying this at all, go away and listen to Big Finish. I'm sure you'll enjoy that. Or even watch any of your 4 billion DVDs. Or even access iPlayer, where you can watch a huge pile of old Doctor Who. It is interesting to note, but not important for this, that the other night I thought, I'll shove some Doctor Who on. So I went to iPlayer and scrolled through. And I just kept scrolling. And the only one that I was even remotely interested in watching wasn't there. Perhaps I was looking in the wrong place, but I just couldn't find the 50th anniversary special, which was the only story I was really interested in watching. That I found worrying and disturbing. So obviously I did what I do best. I ignored it. Yeah, like I said, for a lot of people the story, the creature in this, is Stitch from Lilo and Stitch. We'll go down that road. However, the story itself, if you think about it, is much more a retelling for kids of Alien. Yes, there's no chest burster involved, although everyone does end up in the medical wing and having their organs rearranged at one point. So perhaps it's even a lot more closer to Alien. It does look like the ship in question does look a lot like the dropship, the landing bit of the Nostromo from the original film. But of course, even then, Alien itself is based a lot on the film Dark Star. Everyone involved has agreed to that and has admitted it and tries not to talk about it very much. Dark Star is a glorious thing. If you've not seen it, track it down. Remember, it's of its time, but it was also made with such passion and love that it is well worth sitting through. But I'm not here to talk about Alien or Darkstar or anything like that. I'm here to talk about the one story. Yes, oh look, there's a pregnant man. Boys have boys, girls have girls. You know what? That is a child's view of pregnancy. That is the way that some children out there see the world. So if some kid watching this goes, oh, what do you mean that's not how things happen, and gets things explained to them, well, that is the BBC stepping up to the mark and fulfilling its need. No, really, it is. Because there'll be people out there who just kind of wash over it. Let's face it. Remember, kids out there, Doctor Who isn't for us. We just happen to be the core audience. But it's not made for us. It's made for families. It's made for kids. Well, that's fine. So, you know that pregnant man storyline? Apart from the fact that it's an ambulance ship, very large ambulance ship, and it appears to have about 6 people on board. Not very good use of space. If you wanted to up the ante, I would have had a hull full of frozen soldiers or something. People who would die, but you would never actually get to see. You know, ramp it up the pressure just a bit, rather than saving yourselves. But, here we go. This pregnant man's storyline. The ginger man, yeah? Imagine the same storyline happening in, say, The Invisible Enemy. It's a parallel storyline that just happens to be taking place as the action takes place. You know what I mean. It's a B-plot. In order to try and give some sort of, well, in all honesty, it's to give something to do to 2 of the characters, to get them out of the way, while the actual business of talking about antimatter and solving the infestation goes on. It did feel a bit Star Trek-y. So, imagine that storyline taking place with Tom Baker or one of the earlier Doctors. Oh, Mary Whitehouse would have been in an uproar. And now it's just people going, oh yeah. See how far we've come. Be proud of this. Truly, truly. So, a little niggle. Something that I need to mention that I don't think anybody else has. Has anyone else noticed in this series of Doctor Who how much people keep saying the word galaxy when they mean star system? It's the most first Doctor-y of all of the mistakes that Doctor Who ever makes. Keep going on and on about galaxies and all this business when they actually mean star systems or solar systems. A galaxy is a collection of solar systems, massive. The Milky Way galaxy is huge. Star Trek mainly takes place inside our one galaxy. That's how big it is. But with Doctor Who you've got the universe to play with, but they still keep talking about galaxies when they mean star systems. Is this on purpose, or is this a translation failure, or is this Mr. Chibnall going, do you know what original series people like? They like people making mistakes like this. Here's a nod. And on the subject of the original series, did anyone else see the Cyberman, the Slovene, the Zygon, and weirdly enough a photograph of the Silence, which means of course that everyone instantly forgot seeing the photograph of the Silence. Yeah. Oh, and there was a weeping angel as well. Not that I've, paused the video and watched it over and over again and seen all of these characters. I didn't see the Sea Devil, but I will go back and look again. They're all on screen for less than a frame. Every time you press pause, you get a different one coming up on screen. It's so good. Now, here's a theory. One that I no doubt someone will come round and smack me down about. Well, look at the flight deck, the control room. Looks expensive, doesn't it? Looks more expensive than you would expect. It also looks, to quote Arthur Dent, gleaming white. Computer screens, this is what spaceships should look like. And more importantly, it's what I believe the TARDIS should look like. No, more importantly than that, it's what I believe the TARDIS did look like. Imagine those corridors, yeah. Imagine that background, yeah. That central control system, yeah. It's all potentially, if you'd been shown that as the TARDIS, when people walked in, you'd go, nice new TARDIS. They've gone back to basics, but it looks sweet. People like me, people who don't like the rock salt TARDIS, they would have been impressed. They would have gone, hey, it's simple, it's a bit iPod-y, but it's alright. It's a bit on their nail 2008, but it's still very good. And we would have been happy, we would have done a dance, and that would have been it. And some people would have complained that it didn't look, organic and rock salty enough. But I think that they built this as the new TARDIS interior and then decided to go another way. I'm probably very, very wrong, and people will shout at me, but it is something that I'd like to believe. Leave me in my ignorance. My ignorance is mine alone. So, is that the case? I just don't know. Yes, the one thing that this story will leave behind it in its wake was at the end. It was the non-denominational prayer. How many Doctor Who fans will have that read at their funeral? How many priests will just word for word say the prayer because it is about moving on and going on a new journey? That is what this story will leave us. So perhaps in those old and glorious days of Doctor Who fandom, where people used to say, this story was fantastic and this story is rubbish, and then years later you revisit them and you go, that's just pointless nonsense. This moment, this end prayer, is the thing that will make everyone go, that wasn't a bad story, wasn't really for me, but the prayer bit, that summed up life, being a Doctor Who fan, and just plain being alive. So yeah, the fake Crichton was a bit rubbish. Could have done with looking a bit more like an android. Some of the set pieces didn't feel as though they had much cohesion at all. Some of the acting was pitched slightly off, but not massively. The music was used to try and create a sense of drama when there wasn't one, or perhaps it was just actually used and was more noticeable. But all of these things are just comments on a perfectly reasonable story that was loved by many. And if you're a grumpy old fan who didn't like it, so what? This isn't the show for you. Remember that. It doesn't belong to you and it doesn't belong to me. So with that, I'll fade away and I'll let you go and I'll let you watch this story again, because next time it's the Demons of the Punjab. Now I know a lot of people out there are thinking this is going to be a purely historical story, but look closely at the next time trailer. There's a massive metal egg embedded in the ground that looks like a crashed flying saucer of some sort. That is a pseudo-historical, not a pure historical. There's also a shot of somebody with very pointy elbows that looks just a little bit like a Dominator. Now, I'm not going to say that this is going to be a Dominator's sequel. I'm not mental. But I'm thinking there's going to be more aliens in this than you think. But more importantly than that, this is about a bit of history that is important to the people of Britain, just as much as it is to the people of any subcontinent around the world. If you're listening to this in the States, you probably don't know very much about Pakistan at all. And sadly, due to the way that history is taught in the UK, unless it's impacted on your life personally, you probably don't know that much either. So let's all learn together next time when there's actually going to be something for Yaz to do in her story. Hooray. So until next time, be seeing you. That was the Doctor Who Tin Dog Podcast, available on iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, RSS, Vimeo, and across the internet. Doctor Who and its associated properties are all copyright and trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Why not become a supporter by visiting patreon.com/tindog. Contact the show on tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.